Here's a picture of Ethel at the age of 10 from PS4 in New York City. She was born Ethel Agnes Zimmerman in Astoria on January 16, 1908. Her father, Ed, was her biggest fan, but he insisted she learn a trade to fall back on. So she went to secretarial school and went to work for the BK Vacuum Brake Company, but at night she would play all the small clubs and worked her way up to starring at the Palace. A critic once said she could hold a note longer than the Chase Manhattan Bank.
Ethel Merman.
In 1930, George Gershwin was casting his new musical and looking for a girl singer. A friend of his had seen Merman at the Palace and set up a meeting, and Gershwin was astonished and even offered to cater the songs to her liking. She said, "Thank you, Mr. Gershwin, but these will do very nicely." Then on October the 14th, 1930, Girl Crazy opened at the Alvin Theater, and at the end of the first act, Merman came out, planted her feet stage center, and sang. I got rhythm, I got music, I got Ethel. Who could ask for anything more? I got Daisy and green pastures. I got Ethel. Who could ask for anything more? And old man trouble, say I don't mind him. You won't find him hanging around my door. Oh, I got starlight, I got sweet dreams, I got Merman. Who could ask for anything more? Ethel Merman and Me. I love this story. Ethel Agnes Zimmerman. She introduced more standards to the American songbook than any other singer in history, 51 to be exact. More than Sinatra, more than Tony Bennett, more than Bing Crosby, because she had the great writers of the 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s. They were all writing for her. They all wanted her to be in their shows. Now, I knew Ethel Merman when I was 12 years old. This is a picture of Ethel and me on my 30th birthday. But at that point, I'd already known her for 12 years. My life changed on June 20th, 1959. Now, my dad worked on Wall Street, and the fellow he worked with was a guy named Ed Zimmerman. And Ed said, I have a daughter in show business, and she's going to give you her house seats for the latest show she's in. So my dad, who was a widower, he went out with Merman a couple of times, and on Saturday, June 20th, 1959, we went to the Broadway Theater to see a show called Gypsy. Now, being a 12-year-old Irish Catholic, I thought it was a show about Romanian chicken thieves. And if I was lucky, a fortune teller named Esmeralda. Surprise! Well, this good Catholic boy found out what burlesque was all about that day. And we walked into the Broadway Theater. I'd always been so attracted by the church. That's all I ever did. And the Broadway Theater on 53rd Street was the most beautiful place I ever saw in my life. It was like church, but with energy. Well, there she was, right in front of me. Ethel Merman, 5 feet away in her house seats, E101, 102. And the power of her voice, you had to see her live to appreciate her and the vibrations that went through your body. And that voice shook me in the seat that day. But what she said in that song, the very first words I heard Ethel Merman sing, shook me to the soul. Anybody who stays home is dead. If I die, it's not going to be from sitting. It's going to be from fighting to get up and get out. Some people can get a thrill knitting sweaters and sitting still. That's okay. For some people who don't know they're alive. Some people can thrive and bloom, living life in their living living room. That's perfect for some people of 105, but I at least gotta try. When I think of all the sights that I gotta see, all the places I gotta play, all the things that I gotta be at, come on, Papa, what do you say? Some people can be content playing bingo and paying rent. That's perfect for some people, for some humdrum people to be. But some people ain't me. I had a dream, a wonderful dream, Papa. All about June and the Orpheum Circuit. Give me a chance and I know I can work it. I had a dream, just as real as can be, Papa. There I was in Mr. Orpheum's office, and he was saying to me, Rose, get yourself some new orchestrations, new routines and red velvet curtains. Get a feathered hat for the baby, photographs in front of the theater. Get an agent and in jig time, you'll be being booked in the big time. Oh, what a dream, a wonderful dream, Papa. All that I need is $88, Papa. That's what he said, Papa. Only $88, Papa! Then I will get it someplace else. But I will get it, and I will get my kids out! Goodbye to blueberry pie. Good riddance to all the socials I had to go to, all the lodges I had to play, all the shriners I said hello to. Hey, LA, I'm coming your way. Some people sit on their butts. They got the dream, yeah, not the guts. That's peachy for some people, for some humdrum people, I suppose. Well, they can stay and rant, but not Rose. What an effect that had on me. And afterwards, the lights came up, and I looked in the seat. I was sitting on the aisle, E101, and I looked up, and there was Ed Zimmerman in the aisle, and he said, Ethel's waiting for us. Well, he took us backstage, and there she was in the same purple dress that she was from the curtain call, and she was talking to the stage manager, and so she waved us over. She knew my dad. She said, hiya, Pete, how you doing? Hiya, Pop. You must be Jimmy. I turned right into Ralph Cramden. Hamina, 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 hamina. Jimmy, me. She said, what are you going to be when you grow up? I'd always say the Pope. I had high ambitions. And at that moment, the curtain of the Broadway theater rose. And there was the dark, empty theater. And I turned to her and I said, Ms. Merman, I'm going to do this. And my life changed that day. I'm really glad you're here. I forgot to introduce my darling friend, Mark Janis, at the piano, who I love. Now, I would see Ethel through the 60s. I was in high school, but I'd run into her. You know, she was a candy striper at Roosevelt Hospital. And so then her son, I was about her son age, Bobby, and I had met Bobby. And all of a sudden, I go off to Pittsburgh to school, and who's my classmate? But Bobby Six, Ethel's son. So here we are, and about every 3 months, Ethel would come down, and she would go over to Bobby's little apartment off campus, and she would cook. The worst. I mean, she was really a terrible cook. she would make what she called spaghetti. Did you ever have Elmer's glue all and tomato sauce? It was terrible. But here she was, Ethel, in the kitchen cooking. Now, if that wasn't absurd, and here we are eating this horrible spaghetti, but it didn't matter. It was the Queen of Broadway. We were eating spaghetti a la Ethel. People are queer. They're always crowing, scrambling and rushing about. Why don't they stop one day, address themselves this way? Why are we here? Where are we going? It's time that we found out. We're not here to stay. We're on a short holiday. Life is just a bowl of cherries. Ah, don't take it serious. It's way too mysterious. You work, you save, and you worry so, but you can't take your dough when you go, go, go. So keep repeating, it's the berries. The strongest oak must fall. The sweet things in life to you were just loaned. How can you lose what you've never owned? So keep repeating, it's the berries, and live and laugh at it all. Ladies and gentlemen, Anything Goes, 1934. Opening night.
Ethel, we've known each other for years, and I've always wondered, when you first heard the score of Anything Goes, did you have any notion that you were going to have 4 big hits?
No, not when I first heard them, no.
Oh.
But after about a week's rehearsal, then I knew we really had something,
Did Cole play the songs for you?
Yeah, he used to like to demonstrate his songs. He didn't play too good a piano, and he sang like a hinge,
Well, so do I.
But after a few times he played it, he got such a kick out of demonstrating
yes,
it, and then he turned it over to someone else. Yeah.
Well, now, how did they feel opening night?
Oh, sensational. They were great, great songs. Almost every song in that show was a hit.
We all know that.
Yeah.
Now, you had a very complicated show, right?
Yes.
Now, did anyone do any of those opening night things, like coming out in the wrong costume, into the wrong scene, with the wrong dialogue, or...
Well, Billy Gaxton did something, but it wasn't intentional. It was in Boston, and we were making quite a few changes. And he had that beautiful ballad to sing all through the night to Bettina Hall up on the upper deck, all through the night I delight in your love, with the white tie and the tails and everything. And the next scene, he had to come down into his cabin and see Victor Moore there. And the line was, when he entered the door, was, "What a night, what a dawn, what a sunrise, what are you doing here?" And so I guess he forgot. I don't know. He got through with the song, and on his way down, he took his pants off. And he walked into the cabin with the pants over his arms and say, "What a night, what a dawn."
Times have changed, and we've often rewound the clock since the Puritans got a shock when they landed on Plymouth Rock. If today any rock they should try to stem, instead of landing on Plymouth Rock Rock would land on them. In olden days, a glimpse of stocking was looked on as something shocking, but now God knows anything goes. Good authors too, who once knew better words, Now only use four-letter words, writing prose. Oh, anything goes. The world's gone mad today. Good's bad today, and black's white today, and day's night today, and those guys today, the women prize today, they are silly gigolos. And though I'm not the great romancer, I know that you're bound to answer when I propose. Anything goes. Well, 1934. In 4 years, Ethel had become the biggest star on Broadway, but she never changed very much. So, you know, here she is, and she moved into town. Well, she got an apartment in Manhattan. Wasn't that nice? Still living with her parents. I think we're in the right place. Oh, thank you, darling. Okay. Gotcha. Well, Ethel had it all except love. Now, she was in love with this guy. Oh, boy. And he was in love with her, too. He was rich and he was famous, but there was only one problem. The guy's wife didn't approve. My story is much too sad to be told, for practically everything leaves me totally cold. The only exception I know is the case when I'm out on a quiet spree, fighting vainly the old ennui, and I suddenly turn and see that fabulous face. Well, that fabulous face belonged to Sherman Billingsley. You know him? Owner of the Store Club, 3 West 53rd. Greatest watering hole I think New York City ever saw. Well, Ethel was at a crossroads because she loved this man tremendously. But she had heard a rumor that Henry Luce was about to put her on the cover of Time magazine. Well, if there was a scandal, that wouldn't happen. So she chose her career over love, and it wouldn't be the last time. I get no kick from champagne. Mere alcohol doesn't thrill me at all. So tell me why should it be true that I get a kick out of you? I get no kick from cocaine. Now I'm sure that if I took even one sniff, that would bore me terrifically too. But I get a kick out of you. I get a kick every time I see you standing there before me. I get a kick, though it's clear to see you obviously don't adore me. I get no kick in a plane flying too high with some guy in the sky is my idea of nothing to do. Oh, but I get a kick, the most fabulous kick. Yes, I get a kick out of you. You people are so kind to the elderly. It's really nice. Well, here she was, 1939. She was making $5,000 a week for Do Barry Was a Lady. She was the highest paid person on Broadway. She was hosting dinner parties for the Duke and Duchess of Windsor. I mean, she had it all. And at this point, she even moved into Manhattan with her parents. I feel the sudden urge to sing the kind of ditty that invokes the spring. So control your desire to curse while I crucify this verse. This verse I've started seems to be the tin antithesis of melody. So to spare you all the pain, are you in pain? You are. I'll skip the darn thing and sing the refrain. Me, 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 me. Re, re, re. Do, so, mi, do, la, si. Take it away. Oh, the night is young, the sky is clear. And if you want to go walking, dear, it's delightful, it's delicious, it's lovely. I understand the reason why you're sentimental, cause so am I. It's delightful, it's delicious, it's lovely. You can tell at a glance what a swell night this is for romance. You can hear dear Mother Nature murmuring low. Let yourself go, so please be sweet, my chickadee. And when I kiss you, just say to me, it's delightful, it's delicious, it's delectable, it's delirious, it's dilemma, it's the limit, it's deluxe, it's the lovely. So, 1940. Oh no. It wasn't a big enough end. It wasn't a big enough end for all that. So, the 1940s. Well, in 1940, Ethel had gained one more husband, 2 children, 3 hit shows, and she was riding high. She also had the greatest hit of the decade, was her show. And history happened during the 561st performance of Annie Get Your Gun. On that Friday night, while Ethel was doing her 561st performance of Annie Get Your Gun, I was born. Well, it was life-changing for me. Folks are dumb where I come from. We ain't had any larnin'. Still, we're happy as can be, doing what comes naturally. Folks like us could never fuss with schools and books and learning. Still, we raised a family, doing what comes naturally. My tiny baby, you don't have to look in a book to find what you think of the moon or what is on his mind. You don't have to feel clever past his book. That's right, evening gown. That comes naturally. My tiny baby brother can't even write a book. Knows one sex from the other. All he had to do was look. Grandpa Bill is on the hill with someone he just married. There he is at 93, doing what comes naturally. Doing what comes naturally. So in 1950, you know, Ethel was always disappointed that she never got the movie roles, ever. You know, Anything Goes went to Mitzi Gaynor, something else went to Mitzi Gaynor. Annie Get Your Gun went to Judy Garland first, and it went to Betty Hutton. But Ethel got the movie of Call Me Madam. And 20th Century Fox really put in a lot of money to make her look beautiful and to make it a great movie. And I think they succeeded. She looks terrific, sounds terrific. The making of the film. This is a clip of Mitzi Gaynor and Donald O'Connor talking about what it's like to work with Miss Ethel Merman.
The phone rang, and the voice said, "Metzola, do you want to have dinner with the Windsors tonight?" So that night we had dinner with the Duke and Duchess of Windsor. Everybody's dancing, and the Duke and Duchess are just sitting there, and Ethel's about to get up and dance with somebody, and she said, "Hey, Duke, get off your ass and dance with your wife." And he did.
I hear singing, and there's no one there. I smell blossoms and the trees are bare. Anyway, get down to the part. She comes in. You don't need analyzing, and the ear went. It was like a snare drum.
You don't need analyzing. It is not so surprising that you feel very strange but nice.
And she was right there. Well, it was beautiful, but you couldn't hear it for 4 or 5 days.
You don't need analyzing. It is not so surprising that you feel very strange but nice. Your heart goes in a patter. I know just what's the matter, because I've been there once or twice. Put your head on my shoulder, meet someone who's older, rub down with a velvet glove. There is nothing you can take to relieve that pleasant ache. You're not sick, you're just in love.
Well, the 60s, after Ethel was in Gypsy, the 60s weren't very kind to her. There were no more shows. She turned down Hello, Dolly. She didn't want to do another Broadway show. 4 of her husbands were gone to death or divorce. Her parents were gone. Her daughter had taken her own life. Something Ethel never admitted to. She always said it was accidental, but she did take an overdose. So Ethel was kind of lost in the mid-60s. She had a place at the Park Lane, and she was content to be a candy striper at Roosevelt Hospital, and to sit in her apartment and drink white wine, and to do needlepoint. She kept a Christmas tree up in her apartment all year round. Well, she got a visit one day from an old friend of hers. They had done Girl Crazy together. He was the assistant choreographer. But now he was about to host the Hollywood Palace, and he wanted her to come back to work. And she said, "No, I don't think so. My singing days may be over." He said, "No, your singing days are not over. You're coming as a guest star on the Hollywood Palace." Ladies and gentlemen, it is my privilege to introduce Ethel Merman and Fred Astaire.
Ethel, it's always such a great pleasure to hear you sing.
Thank you, Fred.
You sing. It's just simply wonderful. Your voice is so, what's the word?
Loud.
I wouldn't exactly put it that way.
Well, now, Fred, who do you think cracked the Liberty Bell? And I was only hailing a taxi.
And you weren't even in Philadelphia. No, what I'm talking about is your terrific style. The way you project.
Well, maybe it's not me, Fred. Maybe it's the songs that I sing.
Wow.
Huh? Let's try one.
I don't think I could sing with you, Ethel. Really, I mean, we don't quite match.
Oh, Fred, now go ahead. Try I Got Rhythm.
Well,
Come on.
All right, I'll try. I got rhythm. I got music. I got Ethel. Who could ask for anything more?
You think they can hear you? No. From the diaphragm, from here, yeah. You'll be swell. You'll be great. Gonna have the whole world on a plate.
Is that all coming from you?
Starting here. Start now. Baby, everything's coming on roses. Come on, go ahead.
There may be teardrops to shed.
What did he say?
So where there's moonlight and music and love and romance, let's face the music and...
Let's face the music and dance. I get no kick from champagne. Mere alcohol doesn't thrill me at all. So tell me why should it be true
in heaven. And my heart beats so that I can hardly speak.
Why don't you try for the second row?
Find the happiness I see when we're out together dancing cheek to cheek.
All right, I'll try it your way. If you're blue and you don't know where to go to, why don't you go where fashion sits?
That's perfect.
Putting on the ring!
Well, almost perfect. They say that falling in love is wonderful.
It's wonderful.
Why don't you
So they say.
try for the moon?
In olden days, a glimpse of stocking was looked on as something shocking. Now heaven knows anything goes. Good authors who once knew better words now only use four-letter words. Writing prose, anything goes. I'll do mine and things are fine and dandy when we sing together. We got rhythm. We got our songs. Who could ask for anything more? Who could ask for anything
They don't make them like that anymore. You know, they just don't make them like that anymore. Ethel was back. You know, in 1969, she came back to do Hello, Dolly. She said she'd do it for 3 months, then she did it for 6. It almost lasted a year. And I was there on the very last performance. I was sitting in the second row, and I had my tape recorder, because it was never recorded. Her version was never recorded. And sometimes it was like she almost took the microphone out of my hand and sang into it. Before the parade passes by, before it all goes on and only I'm left, before the parade passes by. Well, there wasn't a lot of time left for Ethel. The 70s weren't terribly kind. She got sick. And she kept doing concerts, maybe to half houses, but she never gave up. Ethel Merman, at age 75, she was still singing loud and clear. Before the parade passes by, I'm gonna go and taste Saturday's high life. before the parade passes by. I'm gonna get some life back into my life. I'm ready to move out in front. I've had enough of just passing by life with the rest of them, with the best of them. I can hold my head up high. I've got a goal again. I've got to drive again. I've got to feel my heart coming alive again before the parade passes by. Look at that crowd up ahead. Listen and hear that brass harmony growing. Look at that crowd up ahead. Pardon me if my old spirit is showing. All of those lights over there seem to be telling me where I'm going. When the whistles blow and the cymbals crash and the sparklers light the sky. Well, Ethel, I got to work with her. 1979, it was a show called Musical Comedy Tonight. You saw a clip of it when she was talking to Sylvia Fine about Anything Goes. It was taped at the Wilshire Bell Theater in LA. Well, she walked in. I hadn't seen her in a couple of years. She looked at me, Mother of God, little Jimmy Brochu. And I thought, I haven't been little since 1959. What are you doing here? I said, well, I'm the director's assistant. We're going to work together. Oh, that's great. We'll have a drink afterwards. I said, I can't wait. Wonderful. So we started the rehearsal for Anything Goes. Peter Matz, the wonderful Peter Matz, was in the pit. And he raised his baton, and Ethel came out, and I was standing over there with the director. And she said, what song is this? And Stan said, Anything Goes, Ethel. I don't know that song. She wasn't kidding. We froze. She said, don't give me songs I don't know. So Stan said, take her to the dressing room. So tell her we have a technical glitch. So I took her to the dressing room. And about 20 minutes later, knocked on the door. Yeah? I said, how are you feeling? Great. Everything's set? What's the song? I said, we're doing the Anything Goes. Okay. She came out. And she was great. She did it full out. But it was the beginning of a brain tumor that eventually took her life. There she is. Dear Ethel. At the end of the day, I said, do you want to go out for that drink? She said, no, honey, I can't. I just don't feel up to it. I said, Ethel, do you remember the day that your father brought me back to see you after Gypsy? And she put her hand on my cheek. She said, honey, I don't remember yesterday. Oh, those songs she gave us. Let's do that last medley, Mark. Thank you so much for coming. You overwhelmed me. The parts she played upon the stage were cast in a similar mold, brassy and classy and tough as nails, but always with a heart of gold. There was Hattie and Hootie and Reno and Pearl, Blossom and Reno and Rose, Gangster or Floozy or Gangster's Moll, who always wore the damnedest clothes. And when the curtain went up and the world applauds, it's a beautiful, wonderful thing. And we're thankful to all of those wonderful guys for the songs they gave her to sing. Like, you're the top, you're the Coliseum, you're the top, you're the Louvre Museum. You're the nimble tread on the feet of Fred Astaire. You're an O'Neill drama. You're Shakespeare's mama. You're Camembert. You're the Nile. You're the Tower of Pisa. You're the smile on the Mona Lisa. I'm a worthless wreck, a total wreck, a flop. But baby, if I'm the bottom, you're the top. Oh, what say? Let's be. What say? Let's be pals. I heard you. What say? Let's be buddies and keep up each other's morals. Wherever we go, whatever we do, we're gonna go through it together. We may not go far, sure as a star. Wherever we are, it's together. Wherever I go, I know he goes. Wherever I go, I know she goes. No ifs, no fights, no foods, and no egos. Amigos, that's friendship. Friendship, just a perfect friendship. When other friendships have been forget, ours will still be it. A lot of tug, tug, tug. I got no yachts. Still, I'm happy with what I got. I got sun in the morning and the moon at night. Got no diamonds, gives me a lovely day. Moonlight, it gives me the Milky Way. I got no mansions, got no pearls, but I think she's a lucky girl. She had the sun in the morning and the moon at night. And with the sun in the morning and the moon in the evening, I'm the chosen party giver for the White House clientele. And they know that I deliver what it takes to make them gel. So in Washington I'm known by one and all as the hostess with the mostest on the ball. Funny, you're a stranger who's come here, come from another town. Funny, I'm a stranger myself here. Small world, isn't it? Funny, you're a man who goes traveling rather than settling down. Funny, 'cause I'd love to go traveling. Small world, isn't it? We have so much in common, it's a phenomenon. We could pool our resources by joining forces from now on. The butcher, the baker, the grocer, the clerk, they're secretly unhappy men because the butcher, the baker, the grocer, the clerk get paid for what they do, but no applause. Oh, they'd gladly leave their dreary jobs goodbye for anything theatrical. And why? Because there's no business like show business. Like no business I know. Everything about it is appealing. Everything the traffic will allow. Nowhere could you get this happy feeling when you are stealing that extra bow. There's no people like show people. We smile when we'll owe. Yesterday they told you you would not go far. That night you open, there you are. Next day on your dressing room, they've hung a star. As Ethel herself might say,
Who could ask for anything more?
everybody, who
Who could ask for anything more?
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Jim Brochu.
this is the part where you usually go off and you come back on and you do an extra thing. Well, I'm doing this for the ship, so I'm not going to do that. Fuck 'em. But I do want to give you a coda that I'm not going to do in the show, but I'm going to tell you. About 10 years ago, Steve and I got a letter from a fellow named Tony Quantrill. Now, Tony was Merman's best friend. He was the executor of her estate. And he wrote to me because he said he found some letters that I had written to Ethel and that she was very fond of me, which really touched me very deeply. He invited us over to his apartment. Of course, he had all of her possessions. He had the needlepoint that she did. He had her little Christmas tree. So as Steve and I were sitting there, and we were talking, and they were just wonderful guys. And the love of Ethel was profound in that room. He looked at his partner, and they kind of shook his head and went off, and he came back, and he put the urn carrying Merman's ashes in my arms. And her urn was made of pure brass. They went out of the room, and I turned to Steve and said, "Oh God, I'd like to take a spoonful of her ashes." I put them in a locket. I'd wear them around my neck. And just at that point, they came back. I handed he had the whole family. He had the mother and father in ashes, and when Bobby goes, then Bobby will join the family, and they'll all be buried together. So they left the room. A couple hours later, we were at dinner. We're having a wonderful time. And he looked at me and he said, "You know, I got to tell you something. You wouldn't believe how many people come over, hold her ashes, and the assholes that want a piece of her." I said, "How dare they? That's terrible." Ladies and gentlemen, a big musical finish, Mark Janis and I Got Rhythm. forgot something very important. There are some very special, wonderful people here tonight. You're all special and wonderful, but there's some people I have to acknowledge. One of my personal heroes is here. And I'm going to embarrass him right now, and I don't care. But this man has made a fortune, and he has given his fortune away to New York City. If it wasn't for this man, we wouldn't have the ballet and the opera and art, because he's so generous. And he's with us tonight, and he's right there, and his name is Louis Coleman. And please wave to the people. You're my hero. And sitting next to him is his wife, who is a very dear, very old friend of mine, whose late husband was Al Hirschfeld, Louise Hirschfeld. And if it wasn't for Louise, we wouldn't have the Al Hirschfeld Clinic and all the wonderful things that happened to us. At the very same table is a man I have worshipped. You know, I am so lucky to be able to, eventually, my idols have become my friends. And this man has been my idol. He's won the Tony Award, and now he's my friend, and I love him. Len Cariou is right there. One of our greatest actresses is here. I mean, this lady, the Broadway credits she has, she's amazing. The wonderful Joan Copeland is here tonight. Where's Joan? Joan, where are you? There she is. There's Joan. Jay, can you put up the house, guys? Thank you. I love you, Joan Copeland. And her brother was an up-and-coming playwright named Arthur Miller, I think. You might have heard him. The great caricaturist, one of the few people who's following in the footsteps of Al Hirschfeld, another one of my heroes, Ken Fallon, the great. My partner in crime. I'm doing another cabaret show called Two Guys and a Grand, and the other guy I do the show with is here, and he's the Crown Prince of New York Cabaret. Mr. Steve Ross is there. Another one of my partners in crime that I am so proud. I played the Palace with you, my darling. He and we shared the stage of the Palace Theater together, and I could have had the most wonderful time. A Tony nominee, star of Priscilla, Queen of the Desert, Mr. Tony Sheldon. There's so many people here. Shayna Farr, where is Shayna Farr? There she is, one of the greatest cabaret singers in New York City. Walter Willison, are you here? Walter's not here. Well, I mean, one of the great minds of theater is here. And he's another one of my heroes. I remember my grandmother taking me to see him when I was a little child. No, well, anyway, he's a legend and I love him. Mr. Charles Busch is here. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you from the bottom of my very heart. You have been wonderful, and I cannot thank you enough. Thank you very much for coming. Thank you, Marianne.